Now, we've seen severe flooding and lots of damage across much of western Washington today, and it just keeps coming. Governor Bob Ferguson declaring a state of emergency this afternoon, requesting an expedited emergency declaration approval from FEMA. That would allow the state to ask the federal government to help pay and reimburse the state for cleanup for the damage as the storm continues.
Now we have team coverage around the sound right now. KIRO 7's Jack Bill, you live in Gold Bar, where people had to be rescued after getting stuck in their cars on flooded roads. And Brendan Thompson is live in Ording. There he is, where the Puyallup River is forcing mandatory evacuations.
Samantha Lumibao joining us live from Mount Vernon, where crews had to put up emergency flood walls just to try and limit the damage from high water moving in there. And Madeline Ottley joins us live near North Bend, where a landslide shut down eastbound 990 for hours now.
But first, let's get to Pinpoint Chief Meteorologist Morgan Palmer in the Pinpoint Weather Center. So, Morgan, what can people expect as we head through the night?
Well, more rain and wind, but once we get into tomorrow, we're going to see the rain starting to come to an end. The atmospheric river out in the Pacific Ocean still directing a lot of moisture our way, and the rain continues to fall very, very heavily in the mountains. More than a foot of rain since this event began, not only in the Cascades, but in the Olympics. Of course, that's running into our river systems. So record flooding still on these rivers, the Skagit River, the Skagit and the Snohomish River, the Stillaguamish and the Samish, also the Upper Nooksack River, but not at Ferndale, and the Cedar River in Renton, going to hit record flood stage tomorrow morning. So this is going to be a problem for tonight, but especially tomorrow and even lingering into Friday. Major flooding on so many of our other rivers around the area too. Winds are still gusty, 30+ miles an hour, but these winds west of the Cascades will start to come down as we get into tonight. It stays breezy east of the mountains, though. Pinpoint future track by 11, still heavy rain, putting another couple of inches of rain in the North Cascades. This sinks south. Your morning commute will be wet, but eventually by afternoon, we're drying up. We'll take a look long range at when we could get more shots of rain coming our way in a few.
Thank you, Morgan. Meanwhile, it is a mess, a muddy mess, still on eastbound I-90 tonight after a landslide hours ago shut down all lanes of traffic around mile marker 29.
As you can see, that's not far from Snoqualmie and North Bend. KIRO 7's Madeline Ottley live there right now. Madeline, they have been working for hours now to clean up the highway. Any word on when it could reopen?
Well, the problem, Monique, is that they are still not certain of the stability over there. In fact, when we were escorted out there about an hour or so ago, crews were not able to even get close to it because there was still concern that there could be more landslides. This is where traffic is being diverted off the freeway here at exit 27, but it's taking a long while to get here. If our photographer Drew can sort of flip the camera around, you can see just how far that backup extends in our line of sight. When we made our way over here around 2 p.m., it took us an hour to get from Falls City to this point. Obviously a hassle, but closed for good reason. Abby Walker was driving just as that slide hit. She describes the panic that went through her.
My life flashed before my eyes, right? Like I said, I'm thinking this is how my life is going to end. I'm going to be in this mudslide, watching this car fly across the road. I'm thinking they're going to be pushed down. I'm next. It was just panic, right? I was fearful that I wasn't going to be able to say goodbye to my kids.
Terrifying. We were told that one person was taken to the hospital with minor injuries. Everyone was able to get out safely. There are still a few feet of mud. We were told earlier up on the road out there in a car that is stuck in debris. I did just try calling WashDOT about 15 minutes ago to see if they had any update as to when crews could get out there to start clearing this, reopen the road. I did not get an answer. The big message tonight is don't travel if you don't need to. These roads are dangerous. These conditions could be deadly. But if you have to be out there, make sure you at least are driving with a full tank of gas. We've been told already tonight that there were 6 vehicles out here that ran out of fuel, and that just causes way more of a headache for anyone. And something like this could really happen anywhere with the conditions that we are seeing. Live on eastbound I-90, Madeline Ottley, KIRO 7 News.
We don't typically see backups like that when it's not snowing on I-90.
Right.
Thank you, Madeline.
Now, parts of Mount Vernon are currently under level 3 evacuations as the Skagit River expected to hit record flooding tomorrow. KIRO 7 Samantha Lumibao live in Mount Vernon right now. And Samantha, you spoke with one woman among the many who had to pack up.
this morning she had to take her belongings and take her animals and evacuate out of Mount Vernon. You can see this is the Division Street Bridge. This is part of that evacuation order right here. Right beneath it is that Skagit River that you just said is supposed to hit record-breaking flood levels tomorrow. And there is a flood wall that you can see, and we just saw crews finish up putting the last bits of that flood wall here on this side of the river. If you look at this map, the red zone shows you who needs to leave now, which includes anyone in the 100-year floodplain just west of I-5 in neighborhoods north of the Skagit River. Flood barriers, like you just saw, are up and downtown, hoping to keep that river from spilling over, but people are praying those gates hold.
I've been driving back and forth all day, and it's just rising and getting bigger and crazier and faster.
We drove over in the morning over to the west side of Mount Vernon, and it was, I would say, significantly lower than what we just saw right now.
Many downtown businesses here in Mount Vernon have already closed up early today. More plan to stay closed tomorrow, along with some of the school districts and city buildings. The good news, I-5 remains open for evacuation, but the Skagit River down below is set to hit major flood stage at 4 a.m. That's less than 12 hours, then reach those record-breaking flood stages by tomorrow evening. The Division Street Bridge right next to me set to close probably around noon tomorrow when the river hits about 36 feet. Again, I will be out here all night for you tracking what happens, and if this water is still rising, I'll give you an update tonight at 11 o'clock. Live in Mount Vernon, Smith Weebow, KIRO 7 News.
Those floodgates headed for a test for sure. Lots of fingers and toes crossed tonight. Now, we're joined by Mount Vernon Fire Chief Brian Harris.
Hey, Chief Harris, we appreciate you joining us. What's the situation right now? We heard from Sammy Lomibao on the ground. What do you want people to know?
Right now, we want people to know that this is a very serious recommendation for people to evacuate. We haven't seen floodwaters like this in our lifetime. I haven't seen it in the 28 years I've been in the city. 42.13 feet is what's projected tomorrow at 10 p.m. And we're going to be in a prolonged major flood stage for over a 12-hour period of time. That's a serious amount of hydrology and pressure that's going to be put on the dike. We don't know if and when and where the flood will breach or topple, but we're very concerned about it.
There are some question marks, but what you know for sure is you want people to hear this warning and to take it seriously. What are the biggest trouble spots, the areas where you are really trying to tell people, get out now?
For citizens in the Mount Vernon area, it's really everything in West Mount Vernon. The flood wall was designed to be taller than the 100-year flood, so the core of downtown Mount Vernon, in my opinion, should be okay. However, the dikes on the other side, on the west side of the river, are lower. And so priority for us is to get our citizens and people out of West Mount Vernon on the other side, west side of Skagit River. We also have some low areas in Mount Vernon on the north side that also is a boundary to the city of Mount Vernon. Should we have a breach on the north side of Mount Vernon, we do have a concern that water will come in through that way, which will move its way south across College Way into the William Way area, and then move its way west towards I-5 underneath Cameron Way and flow out of the Lions Park area. So those are the areas that we're mostly concerned about. We will have law enforcement and firefighters out tomorrow morning to be checking those areas and advising people to leave if they haven't already.
Well, Chief, hopefully people really do hear the warnings and they heed them. We're thinking and wishing for the best for you and your community overnight.
Thank you, Chief.
Thank you very much.
And taking a real-time look now at power outages in our area tonight, 27,000 customers were told without power right now. That number keeps changing over the last few minutes. We're going to keep an eye on that number and let you know if there are any significant changes in any one area. Turning to Snohomish County now, look at this. A whole bunch of cars underwater there. That is an index. That's Index Road actually in Sultan. And Sultan police putting out these pictures with a reminder to drivers, you take a look at this, turn around whenever you see water on the road, no matter how shallow you think it is, or this could happen to you too. KIRO 7's Jack Bilyeu is in downtown Sultan tonight where we saw those pictures. Jack, there's still hours of flooding to go before the water levels drop there again.
Yeah, Gary, and all of downtown is covered in water. In fact, I want you to take a look over there. They're kind of getting to the edge of the floodwater here. That's City Hall behind them. You can see they've been paddleboarding around. Looks like they're finally calling it a night and getting out there. But, you know, it's worth noting the key here has been all the sandbags these businesses put in front of their doors, which volunteers spent all day filling and distributing. Now, this afternoon, the water rose rapidly right around noon. Over the course of just a couple hours, the water covered a stretch of downtown. We spoke to the owner of a downtown bar whose backyard beer garden turned into a beer aquarium. They told us this was the worst flooding they'd seen in nearly 20 years.
Yeah, 2006 I was here, and it was in the bar. People kayaking in, fish floating everywhere. Yep, in and out. It was horrible.
My buddies started grabbing sandbags and bringing them in. Just hauling them in and doing whatever we can to keep the bar dry.
Yep.
This place never closes, by the way. We've been in here shooting pool and hip waders drinking beer.
The mayor of Sultan issued a voluntary evacuation order for part of the city that was hit the worst with the flooding. That included City Hall. Essential employees are working out of a fire station instead. Bringing you back out here live to Sultan. That's the bar you just heard from those people at. And sure enough, we've seen people coming in and out all night, though they're not getting very far because that's some of the deepest flooding over there. Now, that crest started at 4 o'clock. It is expected to last until around 10. Even after that, though, it will remain in a major flood stage until tomorrow afternoon. We'll be live out here again tonight at 11 with a look at whether the water is actually receding. Live in Sultan, Jack Bilyeu, KIRO 7.